All right, so now that this test project has finished importing, this is exactly where we left off. Again, a bunch of links. We'll get into the registration side, but for now, I just want to go through a lot of the user interface, kind of the tool list, and just kind of help get a basic understanding of navigation of the software. So right now we're in the Review and Optimize tab. And so the left-hand side panel and the right-hand side panel, first of all, you can collapse them just by clicking on the little side gray bar. The right-hand side with all of your link lists and stuff, you can also detach. So super helpful. If you have multiple monitors, you can drag it off to screen so you have a bigger working view. Otherwise, you can just click here, again, repin it, and you're back to this kind of starting point. So the left-hand side panel is going to be like your selection tree. First and foremost, your project tree. You're going to see your sitemap. So if you click this top bar, that's going to bring you right back to the sitemap. Also is going to show you a bit of information about the overall bundle, your setup links, but a critical one is going to be the user coordinate systems, or your UCS. That's only available to view, edit, change, delete, whatever, by clicking on this kind of top sitemap view. You select in the bundle, it's going to go away. So you select on your bundle, you're going to see more information on this right-hand side panel. By default, you might be on kind of more of this basic view. I would say and suggest to be in this advanced view option. You're going to see the same information, but just a little bit more, and you're also going to have more control over kind of your link errors, your link list, understanding kind of the overall registration. So with this bundle selected, you can also expand it out, and you can go into individual setups, and then from there you can see all of the individual links tied to each setup. So for now, pretty basic. But in any case, again, once you select on a setup, you're going to see different information, different options populate within this right-hand side panel. So with the single setup selected, you're going to have your target list, target options to go and see what's there, giving them labels for control if you don't want to auto-label them. And then a new feature is going to be this height of target or height of instrument kind of notation. And that's going to allow you to set a vertical offset if your targets that you shot in or scanned in, or your scanner itself has a known vertical offset for the sake of control. But with our bundle selected, again, this right-hand side panel, definitely want to be in this advanced view, because then you can go and look and sort by your different link names, whether they're locked or not. But a really useful one is going to be sorting by global error and cloud-to-cloud error. So global error, we'll get into it kind of in further videos. But again, you just clicking on the column header will allow you to filter from top down, bottom up, error list, as well as cloud to cloud. So very powerful one to know how to get to, and you're going to use frequently. When you select the setup, again, nothing a whole lot different, but that's about it for this left-hand side panel, at least with the project tab. If you have any assets, like attachments, files, photos, videos, whatever, files you want to have contained within this project file, you can save them here. You can add them. If you create a screen capture within the software, it'll show up here. Here you have your geotags. I don't have any that were pre-populated from the Field 360 in the iPad app. Therefore, this list is blank, but you can still add them later on to your individual setups if you have a need for that type of workflow. And then your last tab is going to be controls. This is going to be an important one. So once we get to kind of the registration portion of the tutorials, especially with applied control, that's where this one's going to come into play. And you're going to see that populate with your control file list. But for now, just in the project selection tree. From there, you have your sitemaps. You can add, or you just have the one that was brought in from the initial import. If you wanted to create a second sitemap, just call it, I don't know, level 2, whatever you want. Then you can come back and you can do kind of a drag and drop of certain setups into different sitemaps for organization. They're still tied into the main bundle. Okay, again, we'll kind of get into this workflow and options in other videos. But for now, it just kind of shows you how to you can organize your different setups across your projects, across your levels, however you want to keep it organized and break it out. So you have that option. So I don't want this one, so I'm just going to go and delete it. And then from there, this top bar is going to be a lot of your kind of navigation, visibility, and depending on what you have selected, what view you're in, whether you're in sitemap view, bundle cloud view, setup cloud view, true slicer, you're going to have slightly different variations of options across this top ribbon. So within the sitemap view, just starting simple. A few of these are going to be grayed out because they only work for bundle cloud or 3D views. So with that, we'll go and select our bundle, and we're going to go hop into our bundle cloud view. So you have bundle cloud view, which is going to be your overall 3D point cloud of all setups contained within this bundle. Because say we had, if I go sitemap view, but say we had 2 separate bundles. Let's just delete this link. And so now I have 2 bundles, right? Now if I come in to do my bundle cloud view, whichever bundle selected is the bundle I'm going to see. And this would also apply if I had setups dragged and dropped into a different sitemap. You're only going to see those setups as long as you have the correct settings applied within your visibility settings. And the, which setting it was, rendering, so show only setups from sitemap and bundle view. As long as you have that enabled. All right, so right now I see the 2 because these are the only 2 setups contained within that bundle. But if I bring these back together, join our line real quick. So now I'm back to a single bundle. Now, just ignore this optimization for now. We'll get into this stage and tutorial later on. But from there, so now we're back again with just a single bundle. And if I wanted to, we'll just go and drag these 2 again back over. So now with these 2, even though they're still tied into the main bundle, kind of giving this so you can see, right, there's a gray setup, meaning it's tied into another bundle. Even so, when I go into bundle cloud view, I'm only going to see those setups. So if I want to drag and drop these back, I think you can select the setups. Nope, it won't let you because the only way you can transfer them is when you're in your sitemap view. So whether you grab the bundle or your setups, and then you can come in here, drag it into the very top or to the other sitemap, and you'll see it give you that option to drag and drop, and you're back to the one bundle. So those couple options with the sitemaps. So if I go select my bundle cloud view, I'm going to go into my 3D bundle cloud. So now we're going to have some of these options visible again. So some of these you may or may not use, just kind of showing them so you see what they all do. But this first one's going to be aligned to surface. So as you zoom in, basically you're going to see kind of a little normal indicator, normal vector, basically, right? What's perpendicular to the face your cursor's on. So once you click, it's going to go reorientate you to kind of this view, which is perpendicular to that face. So if you want to get lined up to something, you can use that as a quick kind of navigation tool. To be honest, I really don't use this at all. You also have a zoom to window, so you can just draw a window and it's going to go zoom to that selection box you created. For smaller projects like this, really probably not needed or used a whole lot, but on really large scale, really spread out data sets, whether you're working with RTC data, TRK, or like the Pegasus mobile units, where you might have like 10, 20 kilometer long data sets there, and then that zoom to window can be a little more useful. From here, you got to zoom all. So every once in a while, again, small data sets, not too big a deal, but like if you ever accidentally zoom way out to where you just can't see anything, right? You're like, I don't know where, can't find my point cloud, can't find anything. You can just hit zoom to all, quick hotkey to kind of re-snap you back to the starting point view of the project. From there, we have point cloud coloring. So color by, or let's see what it was. Color from scanner basically is an RGB. So in this case, I only had a handful of scanners that had images captured, therefore colorized point cloud. So you're going to see some colorization, but mostly black and white. So if it has color, it's going to go make it visible. If not, it's going to just default to the grayscale hue intensity. If I go hue intensity, now all setups are going to be color coded as such. I'll turn off my shading for now. We'll get to that in a second. Grayscale, same as hue intensity, just a different color spectrum. Grayscale, black and white for hue intensity. Color by bundle. So in the bundle cloud view, you're not going to see anything different because it's all going to be one bundle. But if you're in your sitemap view and you have multiple bundles, right, broken up, so now I've got 2 bundles technically. So now you're going to see those broken up. So it makes it a little bit easier if you need to kind of drag and drop and move stuff, figure out how to get it aligned. You can go that route. Undo that, delete. Give that a second to optimize again. Okay, so now we're back to single bundle. And then you got color by setup. So sitemap view may not be the most useful. Again, I don't really use this color by setup a whole lot. For some people, it might just be a preference about how they like to look at the point cloud. And then what you have with every point cloud visibility option, I guess I missed the color by classification. Since this point cloud has no classification applied, or done, it's just going to stay grayed out. So whether you have one setup that has classification or all your setups, as long as you have at least one, you'll have that option available to you. But for any point cloud coloring option, you're also going to have this shaded. So super helpful, and I honestly wish it would just stay on by default. But in any case, it just makes it a bit easier to go look at and kind of understand depth and wall faces and orientation of your point cloud. So you can kind of see the difference of with a off and on, especially helpful when you're in hue intensity or grayscale. Make viewing the point cloud much better, a lot easier to look at and understand at a glance. So just to show all those options and what they look like. And then bundle cloud view, or color by bundle, just one single color, and then color by setup. So very helpful, especially when flying around navigating. I like to just leave shaded on. From there, you're going to have classification. So when you turn this on, you're going to have options to go look at your classification manager. I'm going to go through this in depth, different videos later on, but this is where you're going to basically run classification after import. You can turn off certain point cloud classification families or categories, I forget, class name, whatever they're called. So yeah, lots of flexibility, customization that you can do after classifying. But this is going to be where you manage all of that. From here, go back to color from scanner. Next one's going to be your background color. So right now I have it as black. You can also do it to a gradient, just a preference, whatever you like. I've always just run it on black, it's just what I like. And then from here you have image options. So images are only going to be when you're in a setup cloud view. So in this case, I know my first setup had an image, so I'm going to go select that. I can also right click, show in setup cloud view. I can also just hover down here through different visibility options or scene options, and then from there, setup cloud view. So now I'm going to have options to go look at my different image types and turn them off and on. So I'm just going to go turn off my point cloud for a second. So now it's just your image off or on. Do you want it to be visible or not? So by default, on. And then another option is going to be your image type. So you have standard dynamic range, or SDR, or just like your generic JPEG image. That's what's going to be your primary colorization of the point cloud. You also have HDR image, which also technically colorizes the point cloud, but that colorization only applies to Leica file format. So like the LGSX file, or if you want to go link in this data set into 3DR, CloudWorks, or other downstream applications within the Leica platform, HDR point cloud coloring is available, but for all other file types, to my knowledge, E57, RCS, whatever, it's going to only use the SDR, the standard image colorization. So right, if I go turn off images, it's not going to change anything right now because HDR coloring gets applied during export. So that's how you turn on your images and change between the different types. One thing to note, your standard image, clarity is going to be okay. They try their best to be a very color balanced or light balanced image, so you see as much of the point cloud in the area as possible in the dark and the bright spots. Therefore, you're going to lose a little bit of contrast, a little bit of clarity with just how it processes the images. But whenever you want to go and use the highest resolution, the highest contrast, the most detail, the most information, always go into the HDR image. You're going to have basically the full image resolution, no compression. It's going to seem a bit less noisy. It's going to be a whole lot better to work with, especially if you have like a control point on the ground that you need to go utilize for control. HDR image is going to give you a lot more flexibility, a lot more clarity, so you can very precisely pick the center of whatever it is you need to, or your reference point within the point cloud. So those are your images. Let's go hop back into bundle cloud view. All right. So from there we have measurements. So a little drop down arrow. You're gonna have a few different types of measurements. You're gonna have your standard point to point. You're gonna have an angle, and you're gonna have an area. So point to point, wherever your cursor is at, you're gonna see a little kind of normal indicator, that little blue circle thing, just to kind of help give you a visual and understanding of like the surface you're snapping to and going to be grabbing or clicking on for your reference. So After you click once, right, it's kind of pinned to that spot. You left click and hold. You can still orbit, and then you just got to go and click on whatever other object you want. Right now I have advanced measurement style on, so advanced. Therefore, I'm going to get my XYZ coordinates of each pick point, along with the point-to-point distance, the horizontal flat distance between those 2 points, as well as the delta X, Y, and Z values. The delta values are going to be based off of the current active coordinate system or applied control. So those can change depending on what's active. But it's right now I don't have any of that, so it's just kind of the arbitrary plan north that I was left in when I started. So that's going to be your point-to-point measurement. As you create measurements, everything with these measurements inside of Register 360, they're just temporary. There is no saving them, to my knowledge. So they're just going to be a quick representation of whatever you need to go and check. So if you want to go delete this, because if I just turn this off, that measurement's going to stay. If I change views, sitemap, setup cloud, whatever, then it'll go away. But if I want this to go away in my current bundle cloud view, with the measurement tool re-enabled, just click once more and that resets it, and then you can turn it back off. So that's point to point. Let's do angle measurement. So basically you're just clicking 3 points. So you're going to have your starting point, your second like pivot point in a sense, and then you're going to have your third point to determine the angle. And you're going to see distances between your pick points, the elevation deltas. You're going to see the angle measurement, and as well as the same information for the other line that you're referencing. So again, click once more, that deletes it, resets it. Measure area. This is going to be 3 points again. So you're going to click once to start the square or the rectangle. And you're going to click again. And then your third point is going to be, all right, based off of those 2 points. Oops, accidentally clicked there. I'll restart it. And then your third point is going to be giving you kind of a square footage about wherever it is you click. So that's how you can go do surface measurements. So if you don't want it to be at a weird angle, you just want to stay on the surface, just make sure you're clicking all on one surface. You're going to get your square footage spit out, as well as your multiple pick point measurements. So I'll turn that off. Just go back to standard. I'll turn that off altogether. Here you have a measure temperature. This is for the BLK Generation 1. That's the only scanner at the moment that has thermal imagery sensors. So not going to apply to this project, these trainings, since I don't have BLK data at my disposal at the moment. From here, next view is going to be your visibility options. So whether you're in your sitemap view, your bundle cloud view, your setup cloud view, you might have a little bit different options shown. But again, they're just going to be really turning stuff off and on. So scan locations is your setups. If I turn them back on, the links stayed off. So it's just a matter of turning them back on. But here you can see all your setups by your red dots. You have your setup labels. You can relabel them. We'll get into that later on. You have your point cloud visibility. So if you just want to see your setups or see control points, you can turn your point cloud off altogether. Then you're going to have your links. From here, you're going to have the background image. I didn't save that during the import, therefore it's not showing up. It's just going to be a gray black default background. Otherwise, this would turn off and on basically the satellite image that you had set up as the background image. Screen capture, just going to go and basically take a screenshot of your current window and then save it within the assets tag. And from there, we have geotags. So whether or not you had them on the Field 360 or you create them after the fact, you can turn those off and on. Be this little pin icon kind of scattered throughout your point cloud. And then this last one, show move points. This is after you run the detect moving objects filter command. Once that has been completed, then this will give you the option to turn those off and on, and you can go and see what it all picked up as moving points. So right now we're in the sitemap view, hopping back into the bundle cloud view. Gonna have pretty much the same options. Setup cloud view for that first setup. For right now, same options. The one that's not currently shown, because I have no targets set within the bundle, is going to be the target icon. So right now, I'm just in a setup cloud view, and this edit targets tool is only available within the setup cloud view. So whether you're creating black and white target cards, or targets for registration, for applied control, or registration constraints, this is where you're going to go create those. You have sphere targets as well. You have virtual targets, which is just 100% manual pick point. You can refit them, delete them. We'll get more into this later on. But for now, I'm just going to go create a quick arbitrary one. Hit done, done again. And now when I go back to sitemap view, bundle cloud view, setup cloud, whatever, all of them are also going to have this option to see the show targets. So this setup created this target on this column that was right here. So right now I can see it. I just turned off the point cloud just to make it a bit easier to see on the screen recording. And so if you want to go turn these off and on, just a matter of turning show targets. So this can be helpful, especially when you've got a whole bunch of targets throughout the project, throughout the data set, just to kind of see the layout, because sometimes they can be hard to see, or especially if you have hue intensity turned on, the red can really blend in with the rest of the point cloud visibility. So that's your last one. Again, it's only going to show up once you have targets set and created within this project data set. So bundle cloud view again. We'll change this back to shaded. So here we have your advanced UCS, or user coordinate system. More to come on this in future videos, but advanced UCS is the only one I really should ever use. The basic one I pretty much never use, and I'd avoid using altogether. But this is where you can go and create coordinate systems. It's just a user coordinate system. Sometimes if you want to try, you can get them to an actual real world coordinate rotation, as long as you know all the information, have a good corner or reference point. You can definitely do all that. Generally speaking, I just use the advanced UCS to set a temporary plan north orientation and to set it to an elevation. If you're in sitemap view, instead of being, let's see. Okay, so currently grayed out, not sure why, but you have create UCS. It's not advanced UCS. So there's a big difference between the two. That's why you only want to do advanced UCS for how it holds data sets level. So in any case, get onto that in later videos. But for now, I just want to show you sitemap view is where you can access. It's grayed out because a basic standard UCS is applied only to a single setup, whereas an advanced UCS is applied to all setups. So bundle cloud view again. You also have options to go and create ortho images. So you can just basically cut a section through your point cloud any way, direction, create a little ortho image export, bring into CAD or something. You have fine smooth surface. This is going to be a tool to basically clean the point cloud. It'll go find a surface, whatever it is you select on, and then whatever points are not on that surface will highlight, and then you can easily select points off and on that surface. So like if I wanted to get rid of boot prints or a boot from someone or all this junk that's just sitting here, I can select the concrete, and then it can go highlight all the stuff that is not on the concrete, and I can select just that to delete. Another really important one you're going to use all the time is going to be your fence tool. So again, whether you're in your sitemap view, so if I go use my fence, it's only going to select setups within sitemap view. So that's really helpful if you have certain areas that you want to go and drag over to a different sitemap to keep them organized, because sometimes the labels don't always match up or in order of the areas that you scanned. So sitemap view fence tool is only going to work it's only going to select your setups in the sitemap view. When you're in bundle cloud view or setup cloud view, the fence tool is going to allow you to select points to go and delete, restore, or edit. So right now I'm in bundle cloud view. Again, if I just wanted to be in a single setup cloud view, the exact same fence is going to apply. So with your fence, keep in mind, or I guess to know, you have a few options. So rectangle, pretty simple, self-explanatory, draws a rectangle. Circle, click and drag, it's going to draw a circle. The one I use almost exclusively, or 99% of the time, is polygon. So here, it's just a matter of clicking, create your polygon. You can click and drag and hold, and then once you're happy, just select your starting point, and it'll select just that polygon. So anytime you want to reset it, so if you messed up, it's just a matter of turning it off, turning it back on, and you're back to where you started. So more to come with cleaning tools, tips, and tricks, and all that. From there, we're going to have create limit boxes. So you have a few different types of limit boxes. I'm just going to minimize my right-hand side panel for a second. So just clicking the default, so you have, turn that back off. So you have options, the standard, the default. What it's going to do is it's going to create basically a section box, limit box that's going to fully encompass the point cloud. Then you can just click and drag each of the faces to go and manipulate and edit. Again, more to come in future videos as to how to really use it and fine tune it, control it. But in any case, that's your overall. If I just want to turn that back off, if I want to go create a quick limit box. So now this little box of 32.8 or 10 meters, that's going to come into play. So now with a quick limit, wherever I click, it's going to go create basically a 10 meter cube about that area. So helpful if you want to go really fine tune cleaning or just isolate to a certain area, you can do that. If you want to just turn your visibility off, just turn the visibility off with that little eyeball icon. And then you also have options to save all of these limit boxes within the data set. So you can export them out. You can export just parts of, or I guess I need to double check, but you can save them so that they're saved. So for quick navigation later on, but I believe you can also export just the points contained within specific limit boxes. So you're not exporting out the full point cloud. You're just this area and whatever points are contained within that section box. So you can save those, and you have different options of how you can go manipulate and control them. So that's bundle cloud view. If I go hop into, we'll turn this back off. Let's go hop into setup cloud view. So briefly touched on it again, but the edit targets going to be a very common tool you're going to use for going and tying virtual targets, black and white targets, sphere targets, whatever. From there, you're also going to have geotags. So I don't have any that showed up in this project, but with geotags, yeah, if you want to create them, you can, and they're going to go populate within this data set. So you're going to see that little pin icon show up, and then you can go and attach files, photos, whatever documents you need to this point cloud for export. So that's geotags. Again, within sitemap view or setup cloud view, excuse me, you still have the same advanced UCS option. Only in sitemap view is the basic one available. And then kind of a tool that I really don't think you should ever have to use, especially with RTC data, is going to be this set level tool. So if for whatever reason you have a point cloud that the IMU sensors just went haywire and the whole point cloud is out of chaos, is just out of level and just chaos, you can kind of do a quick and dirty like reset of the level. So the set level tool is just going to allow you to go and select a surface, and then it's going to go try to find that, and you can basically set level for the whole point cloud based off of that surface. I'll get into more on that later on. Generally speaking, it's a tool I never use, let alone I don't want to use, because there's better ways about fixing and correcting and manipulating the data set. So exit out, and then beyond that tool, should have the same options throughout as you saw in the bundle cloud view. So sitemap view, if you had setups that didn't have any links, that just imported in from scratch, that basically there was no registration alignment information. Some of these are for kind of swapping setups in and out to quickly kind of register them back together. I'll get into more of that later on. If you have a custom background image, or if it doesn't come in correctly scaled to your actual point cloud, you can change that. But again, pretty niche tools, rarely ever needed, if not ever. So that's the top ribbon tool. A little bit more with the project selection. So again, lots of options when you right click on either a setup or a bundle cloud view, but when you just kind of hover over your setups, you'll see little preview images. Some of them have color images captured, therefore you see a little image preview. Others, it's just a black and white point cloud, so all you're going to see is a kind of point cloud rendered image. So you can use that to go quickly kind of find and isolate down to which setups have images, or kind of give you a quick view, snapshot view of like, okay, which setup do I need to be in if you don't recognize it from your sitemap top-down view. What else from here? Bundle, sitemap. I think that's about it for now for some of the user interface. One thing just to kind of go touch on again is navigation. So maybe should have had this first on part of this video, but oh well. So within your bundle cloud view, again, you can kind of hover over these different icons, whether you have your bundle cloud view or your single setup selected. You can go into different visibility views. So bundle cloud is all setups tied together in that bundle. Sitemap view is going to show all setups contained within that sitemap, whether or not they're tied together or not. You have TrueSlicer, which is going to be a QC kind of verification tool. Get into more of that later on. And then if you have like a link selected, you can go look at the link cloud, which is again just those two setups and the relationship between those. But with general navigation, so we'll just do this in the bundle cloud view, you're going to have pick objects. So whether it's a setup, it's a link, a target, basically you can't really move in your perspective. Zooming, panning, clicking doesn't do anything. It just allows you to select objects contained within the current scene or the current visibility. From here, you have pick points. So super helpful for a lot of workflows later on with extraction, creating new control, or just getting a readout, simple XYZ readout of different objects. But once you have a handful of these picked, you can also right click and then you can go export them out into text files or CSVs, different formats, and you can clear them. Super helpful if you need to get points to a surveyor or for as-builts, or again with how it relates to kind of control workflows, creating, extracting various control files. Lots of kind of unique features you can do with that. Your default navigation is going to be just your perspective orbit or your standard orbit. So left clicking about your point cloud wherever it's at, that's going to basically just pick your set your orbit rotation point. Right clicking is going to be your pan. Clicking the mouse wheel does nothing, and then zoom in and out with your cursor. Orthographic orbit, same exact tools. Left click about your pivot pick point, right click is pan, and then just zoom in and out. So I hop down to the cloud a little bit. So next one is going to be just your panorama. Basically, it's going to hold you in the same position in space. So now as you zoom in and out, it'll zoom in and out and change your field of view, but you're not going to change in space. And now you can just left click, look around, and just kind of stay in this one perspective. Then you have your fly tool. So flying tool takes a little bit of practice to get used to, but helpful in really big projects or if you just want to go give a visual fly through. But your cursor, and you can do this while you're flying or while you're stationary like I am now. But as you scroll your cursor, you're going to see the fly speed change up or down. So we'll start off pretty slow. I guess the bottom limit 0.05, upper limit 50. 50 is going to be extremely fast. So we'll just start pretty slow. Now as I left click and hold, it's going to, wherever my cursor is at, so relative to my first kind of starting click, if I keep it exactly where it's at, it's going to fly straight in that heading. If I move up my cursor, it's going to fly up, fly down, left, right, and then again, it's just kind of keeping your left click held and you can fly through the point cloud. As you're flying, again, you can change with your scroll wheel. You can scroll forward, scroll backward, and you can change kind of your fly speed on the fly, pun intended. And then you can just use that to kind of go fly through the point cloud. Depending on your computer hardware, it may or may not load as fast as what you see on my screen, but just keep that in mind. If you right click and just hold, now you're going to be flying backwards. Exact same concept. It's just going to change your heading depending on where your cursor's at relative to your starting pick point, but you can use this to kind of quickly fly around. Inside Register, just with how it renders point clouds, does a decent job, but if you ever want to do a really good fly through within the TrueView viewer app of Leica's, the fly tool and how it renders point clouds is basically instantaneous. So flying through a point cloud looks incredible and is a really good way to like showcase and kind of show off the point cloud for people who may not be the most comfortable with navigating point clouds. Last one's going to be your different ortho views, your view cube options. So once you click on it, you're going to have the options for each face of the cube. But this is going to be a very common, I mean, honestly, I do a lot of my stuff from just my standard ortho views. So, right, top-down view, left view, elevation view, and these are going to be defaulted directly into an orthographic view always. So left clicking isn't going to let me change anything, but if I were to change to orthographic orbit, now, again, I can click, it's just going to stay within the orthographic orbit. But in any case, top-down view cube, very common one to be in, and it's just going to make life easier for when you're cleaning point clouds, selecting a bunch of setups, managing your link registrations, whatever. So yeah, definitely get comfortable or use these hotkeys, memorize them, whatever. But these are going to be very powerful for just quick navigation and all the different tools and workflow options that you're going to have later on. So that's navigation in a nutshell, 3D navigation at least. Again, sitemap view, I'm not going to have any of these options. All it is, and all it ever will be, is just a top-down view where you're going to do a lot of your linking, link creation, editing, QC, or whatever. So your sitemap view, that's all you're going to get. If you're in TrueSlicer, you're still going to have the exact same. Let me select my bundle. Now TrueSlicer. So it's going to be in your kind of an orthographic to start, but your TrueSlicer, all the same navigation tools, but your visibility of the point cloud is going to be very different. You're going to have basically sliders that you can adjust the thickness of the point cloud, and this is again a QC tool to visually verify the registration of the point cloud. Whether you're in a top-down, Z-axis, X, Y, elevation view, increase my point size, make it a little easier to see. So again, yeah, it's basically the same thing. It's just a slice way to pull a slice through the point cloud to visually verify and QC the registration accuracy. So that's TrueSlicer, Bundle Cloud, Setup Cloud View, Link View Cloud. All of those are going to have the exact same navigation tools. One thing that's just really helpful with navigating, depending on your point cloud density, your monitor resolution, right? As you zoom in and out, it's going to kind of dynamically render and load points. And so sometimes, depending on what you're looking at, it can be kind of hard to see and make out like what is it I'm looking at on screen, just due to the point size. So if you hit plus or minus on the keyboard, it'll increase or decrease the point size. So I'll hit plus a few times, and it's going to make each of those individual points much bigger, easier to go and look at. So if you're ever just struggling to see the point cloud or kind of understand what it is you're looking at, just try increasing the point size, and then you can also put it back to the minimum, which is kind of where I like to leave it most often, but helpful to increase and know how to increase when the time is needed. Let's see, what else from there? Sitemap view. So one thing, kind of last thing to check, and this is very computer dependent, but for right now, like, should hopefully show up on the screen recording decently well, but very snappy, responsive rendering of the point cloud. Whether I'm in Bundle Cloud View, whether I'm in visual alignment, right? It's very easy, snappy to go and move and adjust. If that's ever not the case, it's very glitchy, slow, laggy. It's generally you're not using your dedicated GPU or the correct GPU to render the point cloud scene or the software. So a couple ways you can go about fixing that, whether you're using the NVIDIA app or you're using NVIDIA Control Panel. What you have to do is you have to go and add that specific program, both for basically older versions of Register 360, 2024 and older, and then everything from 2025 and newer, you're going to have a separate instance. So you got to add these applications, and then from there, you can pause as needed, but you're going to have to go and change some of these settings so that you're forcing it to go and utilize your dedicated, powerful GPU for the rendering and navigation of your point cloud. So you need to do that for both 2025, 2024, and you just want to make sure you're setting for your computer that, again, you're using your dedicated GPU. Sometimes with their laptops, they have integrated GPUs on the CPU, and your computer rendering can just be terrible, slow, glitchy, laggy, just awful to work in. So you just need to change a few of these settings. So again, stop, pause, make sure you have all the same settings. This is going to be one of the biggest improvements to quality of life when managing this software. And then as for the NVIDIA app, same thing. You just different user interface as to how you add the applications, but you can go through for each of them, and then you'll have the same options basically to go and adjust to make sure you're using your dedicated GPU. So beyond that, if there's still rendering issues, there's a few other documents that Leica has out there for different window settings, scaling settings. I use 4K monitors, so there's different ways that I've had to adjust Windows 11 settings so that it doesn't do any funkiness with scaling. So just keep that in mind. Another thing, always run Register 360 on your primary monitor window. So if I ever do like a drop down of a measurement, right here it shows up correctly, but if I had Register running on a secondary monitor, not my primary, when I hit these little drop downs, these little additional context menus, they're going to still show up on the main primary window, which won't be the window you're currently working in. So some people are like, oh, where did my measurement options go? Or I click on my view cube and none of these options show up. Well, they're just on a different monitor. So again, whenever you're running Register, hopefully this gets fixed in the next releases, but it's just a known bug at the moment. Open it up on your primary window or move it over to your primary window, and that should solve that issue. So That's a few things to kind of get up and running for general navigation, general tools. There's just a few things related to kind of graphics and rendering. But other than that, we will see you in the next video where we kind of start to go through registration and really kind of starting to get into the weeds of the software and how we kind of manipulate and control the data set kind of throughout the start to finish process. So with that, we'll see you on the next video.